Second dialogue session. Topic: the role of religious leaders in supporting education for Myanmar children and youth in times of conflict. Location: Payap University, Chiang Mai. Background and rationale. The dual crises of the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2021 military coup have created a severe and compounded impact on Myanmar's youth, particularly on the education system. What has emerged is a palpable generational loss of human capital, not only a halt in learning, but a long-term erosion of potential that could set the nation back for decades. Before the crises, Myanmar's education system was already struggling with an outdated, rote learning curriculum and lack of funding. The coup then completely disrupted what was left, forcing young people to either join the civil disobedience movement, CDM, or attend military-run schools. School enrollment has dropped sharply, with the percentage of 6 to 22-year-olds in school falling from 69.2% in 2017 to 56.8% in 2023. Urban high school students were hit hardest, with a 31% drop. During the pandemic, 35% of students left school due to closures, but after the coup, financial problems became the main reason. Many had no choice but to stop studying. Some young men joined armed resistance groups to protect their communities, while many young women moved to cities like Yangon and Mandalay to take low-paying, unstable jobs. Education has also been directly attacked. In the past 3 years, nearly 200 airstrikes have hit schools, destroying 146 buildings, killing 64 people, and injuring 106. Human rights experts say these attacks violate international law and are meant to spread fear and crush hope for the future. For many others, crossing borders became the only option. Along the Thai-Myanmar frontier, more than 100,000 refugees and displaced persons now confront new barriers. While Thai law technically guarantees education for all children regardless of nationality, integration into public schools remains fraught with challenges. Language barriers hinder learning, pushing families to turn instead to migrant learning centers, MLCs, informal schools often run by volunteers, lacking accreditation and state support. Financial pressures deepen the crisis, forcing many children into illegal day labor. Parents themselves, facing hardship, sometimes question the value of education, pointing to graduates who remain unemployed and disillusioned. Taken together, these intersecting crises illustrate more than just an educational breakdown. They represent a systemic erosion of opportunity and potential, with long-term consequences for Myanmar, its youth, and the wider region. Addressing this generational loss will require coordinated, multi-stakeholder efforts that restore access to education, rebuild trust, and empower young people to reclaim their futures. Chiang Mai has become a major center for displaced youth from Myanmar. These young people face the trauma of conflict and displacement, along with barriers to higher education, financial stress, and uncertain legal status. In response, local and regional groups including Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, and other religious leaders have stepped in to offer moral support, safe spaces, and community guidance. Objectives: provide a safe and inclusive platform for Myanmar youth and religious leaders to engage in open dialogue. Identify challenges and gaps and fill them in current support systems for Myanmar youth. Strengthen multi-faith solidarity and collaboration among actors working on education in crisis contexts and build networks and recommendations for future action. Participants: religious leaders from various faiths, including Buddhist monks from Mae Sot and / or Chiang Mai networks. INEB representative. Student representatives who have received educational support, to share lived experiences. Interested stakeholders and general participants, if conducted as an open forum. Invited media / press. Activities and process around 2 hours, XX September 2025, at 08:30, 11:00. Time spent. Activity: Remarque. By SEM Hub and Dr. Rey. By Dr. Rey. 09.20, 10.50. 1 hour and 30 minutes. Dialogue. Key questions. Explore how religious leaders can support displaced youth in accessing and sustaining education. How does the religious leaders help them address the collapse of education during conflict? How can the principles of a faith tradition be translated into a practical framework for protecting and continuing education in a war-torn community? Besides ensuring safety, what role do religious leaders play in keeping children curious and creative during war? When conflict is caused by religious or sectarian divides, how can religious leaders rise above these differences to work together and ensure access to education? Challenges and gaps in promoting work. From your personal experience, what was the most unexpected obstacle you encountered when trying to provide educational support during the conflict? Besides a lack of resources, what hidden gaps in support for youth need to be addressed? Identify challenges and gaps in current support systems for Myanmar youth in exile. How can a religious community move from receiving aid to leading its own educational recovery? Beyond a physical classroom, what is the most important element of education for a youth who has been displaced, and how can religious leaders help provide that? How can faith communities provide stability and a sense of normal life for young people who have lost their homes and communities? Building networks and recommendations. If we were to design a sustainable network for education in crisis contexts, what 3 core principles would it be built on to ensure its longevity? Based on your experiences, what is the single most important recommendation you would make to a government or an international organization to improve support for youth in exile? All. 10.50 to 11.00. 10 minutes. Reflection and closing. Summary of key insights and agreements. Next steps or recommendations. By Dr. Rey. Expected outputs. Second dialogue session report documenting key discussion points and perspectives. Media coverage and public awareness. Expected outcomes. Mutual understanding and recognition of the vital role of local religious leaders in education during conflict. Strengthened connections among faith leaders, students, and stakeholders to foster ongoing collaboration. Anticipated impact. Enhanced multi-faith cooperation in promoting education as a tool for resilience and hope among Myanmar youth. Increased awareness in Thai and international communities of the struggles and aspirations of displaced Myanmar students. Contribution toward regional solidarity efforts that recognize education as a fundamental right in times of war and displacement. Bibliography. United Nations Development Programme. ND. Shaky foundations, looming collapse of human capital in Myanmar. UNDP Asia Pacific.